Hello everyone. It's a pleasure to see you on our second MJC Open day. And first things first, I'm going to tell you about EPAM and your career opportunities within our company. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Elior, and I'm currently a lead software engineer at EPAM Systems. So let's get right into it. Who we are. We are consultants, designers, engineers, architects, and trainers who enable our clients to be competitive and disruptive in the marketplace through innovative technology solutions while helping them to successfully navigate through multiple waves of technology and social change. EPAM was founded in the USA and Belarus by grade school classmates Arkady Dobkin and Leo Losner. They started a software engineering services company with just 3 developers, a small office, and a single client. Since then, the company has grown tremendously, and now EPAM is a global company with around 60,000 specialists and offices in 55 countries and regions. So why people around the world choose us? Why EPAM? First, we provide limitless opportunities to grow smart, self-motivated, proactive, and collaborative individuals. On our learning platform, any EPAMer can find different trainings, mentoring programs, and comprehensive learning modules to enhance both hard and soft skills. With us, you will be able to work with world-changing technologies and become a part of a global IT community of industry top professionals. Unfortunately, I can't share you the list of our customers because we have signed an NDA and we can't disclose the names of the customers, but they're mostly in the list of Forbes Global 2000. Our unique culture helps to create equal professional environment for everyone, and our employees can manage their work schedule and work remotely. This year, our local office turned 5 years old. During this time, we can be proud of a list of achievements such as rapid growth in the number of employees. If at the beginning of our way, there were only 7 EPAMers working here, including Rinat, who is the head of our office. Now there are more than 500 of us. Many interesting corporate events were held, many communities were created, and much more. We also launched EPAM Campus, which for many was the beginning of a career in EPAM. About EPAM Campus, here you can find some statistics. We have over 150,000 course participants, around 2,000 talented mentors, and trainers for more than 30 different directions. This is the variety of technologies you can learn with us. Any direction in IT is available. If it's backend Java development, scripting with Python, QA automated testing, cloud operations, etc., etc. So how can you start your training journeys? Well, one of the methods is the main theme of this whole event, MJC School, where you can receive strong foundation about a technology, join a training center, complete programs like RD Lab with mentors, and apply your used knowledge potentially at EPAM in the future. To find all the materials, please reach out to this website right here. You'll be able to find all of studying materials for self-study, and you can also pass a test there if you want to identify which technology fits you the most if you didn't make a choice yet. It also includes articles for other topics like English language, soft skills, includes some success stories of some people who transferred to become developers, or as one of the options here is DevOps engineers. On the same website, you can find a lot of events and where you can participate to learn more, become parts of communities as students or mentors, for example. And here are all the QRs for anybody interested. I'm gonna wait a second just in case anybody is interested. Okay. We can continue. Let's head into our main topic now, and today I'll tell you more about our MJC school. Let's take a look at the agenda. I'll start off with the intro. The course is split into stages, so we'll discuss every stage. After that, I'll talk more about the learning process. We'll discuss the various resources that MJC has, and then for our more experienced engineers here, we'll talk about potential mentoring and contribution. And we'll finish everything off with an outro slide. So what is MJC School? MJC School is a free of charge, community-based Java school for everyone, regardless of age, occupants, or residence. MJC School is an educational environment for engineers, students, and Java enthusiasts to deliver top-notch discipline standards and create knowledge-sharing culture. Let's list the attributes of MJC School. It is open source, completely free for everyone. It's online and self-paced. It revolves around community where people are eager to develop themselves and help others. It has production mentoring and latter stages to prepare for your first job and provides professional opportunities as top students will be considered for a Java position in EPAM, Uzbekistan. Let's take a look at what you receive as an MJC student. You will get an access to a large knowledge base with different learning materials with everything you need to learn Java from scratch up to a production standard developer. You will be able to practice all your knowledge with code tasks that have automatic checks enabled for the comfort of your self-paced progress. As students, you will receive support needed to progress throughout the course from experts in the field, and you will get assigned a personal mentor at the latter stages of the course, and all that completely free. Let us go through each stage one by one now. Everything starts with stage 0, and this is for complete beginners, fundamentals, where you will get an introduction into computer science, learn what Java and its components are, get familiar with basic Java syntaxes, get into OOP fundamentals, and after this stage, you will already be able to write some very simple console applications. We proceed to stage 1, which is Java core, where we will dive more deeply into Java itself, collections, input output, stream API, concurrency, and you will gain way more experience in the language itself and will be able to write a bit more complex applications. The next stage will be all about web, including servlets, versioning and build tools, introduction to SQL, and you will learn how to write simple web services using Java in this stage. The stage number 3 will introduce you to the world of modern frameworks like Spring and Hibernate. You will learn more about advanced architecture and how to write Java applications by utilizing modern frameworks and libraries. And finally, our stage 4 is our enterprise preparation. Here you will learn the rest of the important topics required to get your first enterprise job in Java. And this is the stage you will get a personal mentor assigned to you till the end of your learning progress. Here you will discover such concepts as CI/CD, advanced REST, and Spring Boot. You will introduce security into your applications, authentication, authorization, and you will learn to deploy your applications into AWS. Well, after reviewing the stages, let's go over and talk about the learning process itself. Learning process in MJC School involves communication with your peers and experts, and all of the communication is set up through a Discord channel, which you can see right here. The links are going to be available at the end too, so feel free to scan them now or later, in any case, whichever the way you want. And there are separate channels for each stage so that people can discuss it together with their mentors or with their peers. We also have a Telegram channel, which we encourage you to join, not to miss out on any opportunities related to MJC School, just like the one you're attending right now, and also some interesting questions and interesting topics about Java. All the learning materials are placed in GitHub with all the source code of tasks too. Here's the link to the GitHub itself, and we'll take a closer look at the tasks in a couple of slides. So yes, this is our GitHub. And next up is AutoCode, which is an EPAM tool responsible for auto checks of the code that you have written. It will automatically run it and verify that the solution is correct. And let's take a look at one of the example of a task right now. This is one of the simplest ones where you just have to make a write hello world application and AutoCode will verify it for you. And of course, let's take a look at one of the more complex tasks in the latter stages too, where you will have to migrate your existing application from stage 2 to Spring and add CRUD operations for some entities. You can see it's a large and interesting task with a bunch of challenges that's going to teach you a lot of things. It's not just simple challenges here. We also have a YouTube channel where MJC experts recorded lectures on various interesting Java topics, for example, about unit testing or how to utilize IntelliJ IDEA effectively. Now, for our more experienced colleagues, you could have thought that there's nothing for them in this course, but that's not true, as it's completely open source. We're open for contribution from anyone. If you're willing to become an expert in our MJC school, we would gladly accept you. So let me shortly list the responsibilities of a mentor. As a mentor, you would have to go through the material for students so that you can effectively assist them later. Check their tasks, check their results, track their progress. Later on, you could start conducting light talks, which are speeches about some Java topic to a number of students, for example. And if you don't want to become a mentor, but still contribute to our cause, we have some other activities as listed here. You can just join a Discord chat and help our fellow students. You can assist with updating the source material, improving it, maintaining it. You can record lectures for our YouTube channel, and we would happily include them. And conduct a roast battle when you ask questions from students in a rapid quiz type for who answers first. And that is all I had about our school. You can see here a bunch of links, so feel free to join them now or just take a picture to join them later. And for any questions or if you are eager to contribute, please reach out to me by the email on this page for further discussion. Okay, that's it for my presentation. Thank you, everyone. We're gonna continue with the tech talk now. And just one small point here for everyone. After the tech talks, there are gonna be questions from the audience, and whoever asks the best question is gonna get a prize. So please take attention. And at the end, there will be a quiz too. So please try to give attention to the speeches. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Mirjakhon Khudoynazarov. I'm the senior software engineer at EPAM, and today we'll discuss the very interesting topic. Is the introduction to microservices. Firstly, we need to know what is our agenda. So firstly, we'll speak about what are the microservices itself. Then we'll speak about the most important characteristics of the microservices. Then we'll speak about the difference between monolithic application and the microservices. Then we'll discuss how to migrate from the monolithic application to the microservices. And then I will give you from my experience, the tools and the patterns that we are using on a daily basis, and some kind of real world examples. Okay, so firstly, what are the microservices? The microservices, or the microservice architecture, are a way of designing the software systems. What does it mean? So imagine that you are creating some kind of application, and you want your application be the scalable, the reproducible, and etc., etc. And the microservices can help you with that. And the microservice architecture basically is an architectural style that structures an application as a collection of several services. So imagine some kind of service. For example, the online market. Yeah, let's say. The online market has lots of the responsibilities. For example, the notificating some some kind of notification to the users, or working with the products. Yeah, let's say adding the product to a cart, or adding product to I don't know, to somewhere else. Yeah, each of these responsibilities are called the services, and the services are being maintained by the teams, and etc., etc. So here are the key points and the characteristics of the microservices. First, and the most important one, the single responsibility. What does it mean? So each microservice focuses on a single business capability. So, for example, the user management, the order processing, or the payment. Yeah, we should not have the case where for example, notification service will do something with the product or with the payments. It's not the best case, and we should avoid such kind of things. The second thing is the independent deployment. So the teams can develop, deploy, and scale services independently. Actually, in my opinion, this is the most most important reason why we are migrating from the monolithic application to the microservices, or we just create the microservice application, so that the other small teams can develop the system independently from the others, or deploy the systems and the scale services independently. So they will not rely on the other services or into the other kind of systems. So everything will work independently, and it helps us with lots of the things. The third thing is the technology agnostic. So the different services can be built with different programming languages or frameworks. What does it mean? So for example, in terms of the market, yeah, let's say we have the notification service, we have the authentication part, and etc., etc. Or some kind of mathematical computation service. And in terms of our programming world, yeah, for example, the C++ can be perfect for the mathematical computations. Yeah, and the microservices technology agnostic pattern, yeah, let's say, helps us to make our application with using the Java and the C++. So the Java service will call the C++ service, and they will work together, and the C++ code will do what it has to do. Yeah, and it helps us a lot. Or for example, we are kind of creating the service that will not use the Spring Boot because we do not need to. So in this service, we'll just ignore the Spring Boot, and other services will use it if we want. So this is one of the cases also. And the resilience, which means that the failure in one service doesn't bring down the entire system if it's designed with fault tolerance. So imagine the same example, yeah, the notification system in our online market, and if something happens in the server, in the physical server, yeah, let's say, of the notifications service, then the notifications will not work. But the other components of our whole application will work without any kind of issues, and etc. if it's designed with fault tolerance. This is very important also, because the code can be kind of messy and very bad. Okay, here is also term the monolith. So the monolith architecture is a single software application that is self-contained and independent. So it is the kind of vice versa of the microservices, because the key point of the microservices is that the whole application will be kind of separately parted into the several services. But in terms of the monolithic application, it will be only one application, one service. And it will be self-contained and independent. So here are the differences between the monolithic application and the microservices. The first thing is the architecture. Yeah, as we have discussed it, in the monolith, it's the single unified application, but in the microservices it's a collection of small independent services. Here, please take attention of the word small independent services. It's not necessarily have to be small. This is very important, because some services cannot just be small, because it does too many things. For example, working with the products in a huge online market, yeah, let's say, it cannot be small. And the word small is a very relative word. So it's not the kind of requirement or restriction of the microservices that each service should be small. It has to be small. It should be small, but it does not have to be. It's very important. The code base. The monolithic application, it's the one large code base, but in the microservices, many smaller code base. Yeah, as we have discussed already, deployment. In the monolith will deploy the single unit, but in the microservices will deploy each service independently. So we'll have all opportunities of the microservices. Yeah, the scalability, entire application scales together, and in the microservices, the services scale individually. So this means that, for example, in the notifications, we can just create some kind of features, and the other team will just maintain it independently, and they will scale it individually. So we'll not rely on the other systems or in the other services. We'll just kind of work in our entire in our own world. Yeah, let's say. Fault isolation. It's harder to isolate faults in the monolithic application, but in terms of the microservices, it's easier, and it's easier to isolate and recover. And the important part, if it's designed normally. If it's not designed normally and implemented normally, then it will be the same as in the monolithic application. And the technology stack, so in the monolithic applications, typically one. For example, the Spring Boot application, yeah, let's say with the Java 17. But in the microservices, it can be like Spring Boot application with Java 17. The other service can use the C++. The other service can use the Python, yeah, let's say, and etc., etc. Depends on our business logic or in our purposes. So here is the migration from monolith. How you can ask the question how you can migrate from monolithic application to the microservices if the microservices are so good, are so hyped, and etc. And the first question that you have to ask to yourself or to your business analytics, yeah, do you really need to migrate to microservices? The analyze firstly, do you really need to, or is the application works fine? So firstly, what you have to do, yeah, think about the benefits of the microservices. This is the fault tolerance, the agnosticism of the languages, and etc., etc. So do you really need to this kind of features? And it is very important to know and to ask to yourself, because the migration is not very easy, because you need to change lots of the things in your code, and the time is money. And do you have this money? If the answer to this question is yes, then the second part, define domains by business logic. So the user management, order processing, inventory, and etc. For example, the notifications, the authentication, and etc., etc. Firstly, you need to define these domains, and you should define these domains by business logic. Yeah, it is very important. And then choose first microservice wisely. You can ask me the question why you should choose the first microservice wisely, because there are lots of the rules that the teams can use if you migrate your application to the first microservice. For example, the authentication, notification, or reporting. And this kind of rules can give you the blueprint for the entire application. For example, you can define your rules that the other teams will use, and etc. Or you can face the challenges that you have never faced when you just write the code. Trust me, there are lots of the challenges and the issues that you will face if you try to migrate, because lots of the things can just do not work, and etc., etc. And while you're choosing the first microservice, you should think about the low risk. You should always try to get the clear boundaries. and that handles its own data independently. The fourth part is kind of the most important here, and the most challenging part is start decoupling the whole application. So you're extracting the code to the new microservices, for example, into this new Spring Boot application each, or into the C++ application, yeah, let's say, expose APIs for communication, so how the services will communicate, yeah, the notification with the cards, yeah, let's say. It should be synchronous or asynchronous. For example, the Kafka in terms of the asynchronous, or just the HTTP calls. If if you want your communication will be synchronous, yeah. And they use the internal API clients as the API gateway or any other things. The fifth part is the separate databases if it's needed and possible. This is also very important, that each service will have its own database, because they can work with it easily, and it will not be like a huge one database with the kind of thousands of the tables. And imagine that the newcomer comes to your project and sees these old tables, and he will like, wow, what's happening here? And it's very important to be that. And also, if the database just will be shut down, then it means that the whole application's database will not work. But if it's the only small microservices database, then we can handle that situations. Also add the monitorings and loggings to see how the services each behavior, yeah. And the final testing, the pipelines for automation, yeah, it is the CI/CD automation part. It's very important also, and the monitor the behavior of the services and the whole application. Okay, here are the tools and patterns of the microservices that are being used in a daily basis. The first tool is the Spring Boot. It is the framework to use the kind of most important thing for us to build the microservices in Java, because we are all the Java engineers, and the Spring Boot is the most used framework for us. Then the Docker and Kubernetes for containerization and orchestration. So our systems, our services will be containerized into the Docker system. Then the API gateway, such as Spring Cloud Gateway or Netflix Zoo, to route and secure requests. What does it mean? Yeah, so each service will not have its own. Actually, it has the own route and authentication, but to not kind of mess everything around, we'll just put everything in the API gateway application. This is just another service, and we'll kind of do some kind of authentication there, the authorization, the routing, and etc. etc. The circuit breaker, such as Spring Cloud circuit breaker implementation, it will just give you the opportunity to handle service failures gracefully without any kind of issues and problems. Service discovery, such as Spring Cloud, Netflix, Eureka, to auto-discover the services, so that the services will not know will not go to each service by themselves. Just the Spring Cloud, Netflix, Eureka, for example, will help you to discover all the services without any problems. And here are the real-world examples of usage of the microservices. For example, this is the Amazon, how they implemented the microservice architecture. Yeah, we have the card service, search service, user service, our most liked notification service here. Yeah, this is nearly everywhere, and any other services that are very, very important. And for example, the Spotify, the recommendation engine. Yeah, for example, this recommendation engine, I would personally, I would implement it by using the Python. Yeah. So here the agnosticism of the languages can help us. The search service, For example, I would use the C++, the playlist service, the Spring Boot just application user service, again Spring Boot application, and etc. etc. So here we can use lots of the patterns of the microservices, and lots of the other services. So here is everything from my side. Thank you for listening, and any questions? Okay, I see that there are no questions. Thank you guys for listening, and yeah, thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Davlatov Golibjon. I'm the senior software engineer at EPAM Systems, and right now we're going to discuss Spring Security with OAuth 2 and JWT. Okay, these are the contents that we're going to be covering today. This is going to be the starting of basics of OAuth 2, OAuth 2 grant types, incorporating OAuth 2 with Spring Security, and then we'll move on to JWT, where we will discuss the basics of JWT in the beginning, and then using JWT with Spring Security and OAuth 2. And we're going to be covering advantages and challenges of JWT as well. And lastly, it's going to be implementing the secure applications. Okay, so we have 4 main components of OAuth 2. These are resource owner, client, authorization server, and resource server. Resource owner is going to be you as an owner of the resource. The client is going to be the third-party application, let's say, who is going to try to communicate to resource server. Authorization server is going to be the server who is going to authorize you, and resource server is going to be the server that is going to host your data, basically host the data of resource owner. So giving an example, let's say you may all have a Facebook account where you have, let's say, a lot of pictures, and you want to do some kind of 3D photoshopping, let's say. And you have a client application which does it for you. Let's call it, for example, 3D, let's call it a photoshopping application.com. And that application will need an access to your resource owner, who is going to be Facebook. To resource server. You as a resource owner, you're going to request a client to access to a resource server, and first authorization server is going to authorize the client by validating the resource owner, and once validated by the resource owner, Facebook, who is the resource server, is going to provide the data to the client, who is a photoshopping application. So this is just a basic example. And moving on, we have different types of grant types for OAuth 2. These are going to be authorization code flow, which is the most commonly used one. And this is where users authenticate directly with authorization server. Implicit flow is very similar to authorization code flow, but it is deprecated and it's legacy. It was mostly being used for public clients like mobile apps or single-page applications where client secret cannot be stored. So like I said, this is deprecated, and in place of implicit flow, now it's most advised to use authorization code flow with PXE, where instead of storing a client secret, the client uses code challenge and code verifier, but we're going to cover this a bit later. And the last but not least, it's client credentials flow. This is mostly used for microservice applications where every client is known and well trusted, and it is well known by the authorization server. Okay, this is a small diagram that is going to give you a better view of differences of grant types. So first we mentioned, for example, authorization code flow. So how authorization code flow works is that first you as a resource owner going to request a client to make request to resource server to get its data. But before directly going to resource server, first client will need to authorize through authorization server. And for that, first client requests authorization server, and authorization server first verifies it with the resource owner. Once verified, it will provide an authorization code to the client, and with this authorization code, client will be able to send a post request back to authorization server, so that authorization server responds with access token, with which client can directly access a resource server. And of course, after accessing resource server also will verify this access token with authorization server. So the next one was implicit flow, the legacy, the one that I said. So in this case, like I mentioned, with client and authorization server, there were two-step processes where first authorization server responded back with authorization code, and then only it responded back with access token. In implicit flow, authorization server directly responds back with access token, and this was less secure. And like I said, it was being used for mostly public clients like single-page applications or mobile apps. So because this was less secure, and now this is deprecated. And in place of using this less secure way, now we're using authorization code flow with PXE. So in authorization code flow with PXE, it is again a two-step process where client first requests authorization token from the authorization server, and when requesting an authorization token, the client client generates a code challenge and code verifier, and it sends a request with code challenge. So authorization server stores this code challenge, and in the next step, where client will request again for access token, the client will include the code verifier. And with this code verifier, the authorization server will be able to verify the code challenge that is being sent. And if everything is verified, authorization server responds back with access token, and after which client can easily send requests to the research server. Okay, so the last one that was remaining was client credentials flow, and like I mentioned, this is a bit different process where every client is well known by the authorization server. And whenever every client sends a request to the authorization server directly responds back with access token to this specific client by knowing who that client is. Okay, moving on, incorporating OAuth 2 with, this is the way of incorporating OAuth 2 with Spring Security. First, we'll need to add the necessary dependencies, which are Spring Security OAuth 2 dependencies to the project. The next step is going to be configuration of the properties, like setting up the client, secret, and scopes in configuration files, such as application.properties or application.yaml. And the last step is going to be creating the security configuration class, where we'll implement OAuth 2 security configuration class. So moving on, so all this time we've been talking about the communication of client and the authorization server, where in some cases where we had one-step process, in some cases we had two-step process, and all this communication of access tokens or authorization tokens are done through JWT. So JWT stands for JSON Web Tokens, and it contains mainly of three main components: header, payload, and signature. Okay, header always contains algorithm of the JWT and the type, which can be JWT, JWS, JWE, or depending on the type. The payload contains the actual data of that we're sending. Okay, here's one thing to notice is that header and payload are both base64 URL encoded, and they're easily decodable by anyone. So question occurs: how can we ensure the security of the payload? And the answer lays in the signature part. In signature, okay, signature is not easily decodable by anyone, as it is encoded through the secret which the server that is creating a JWT creates. So with this only secret, it's possible to decode the JWT, the signature. And once the signature is decoded, that decoded signature will be used to verify if header and the payload has not been tampered with. Okay, so moving on, using JWT with Spring Security and OAuth 2. So this is the way of using JWT with Spring Security. First, user tries to log in, and user authenticates with credentials, and then JWT token gets generated, where OAuth 2 server issues JWT containing user claims. Then API request gets sent with this token that has got generated, and client includes this JWT in authorization header. And once authorization server verifies the token, Spring Security validates that JWT, and once verified, it authorizes and grants an access to the client. Okay, moving on, we have a lot of advantages and as well as challenges of JWT. So first and most visible advantage that I can mention is scalability. So scalability helps our servers be stateless, which means that, okay, any server stores any kind of session data, and every request contains all the session information to the request header itself, which means each and every request that's being sent is sent as if it is a new request. Thus, whenever any kind of server or service instance gets added to our project, that server doesn't have to know anything about the session information, because every request will already contain it. And this is how we can achieve a horizontal scaling in our project. And this is basically perfect way of using it with microservices architecture. Also, it helps us reduce the server load, where we don't have a need to do any kind of a query to database for sessions, because, like I said, all the necessary information is already stored in the request itself. So there is no need to store the session information to any kind of database, and no need to do any kind of queries from the session side. So the next part is security considerations. Tokens must always have short expiration times. So in OAuth 1, there was this security concern where the expiration of the tokens were way too long. It may sometimes even take years. And this was a big concern because there is a possibility of tokens being tampered with. And in this case, it's going to cause us a problem. So right now, there is a possibility of keeping the expirations very short, and also include the refresh time so that if this is expired, the user will not have to log in again to the system. So it gets refreshed automatically. And like I already mentioned, header and the payload is easily decodable, which is why we should never ever store any kind of sensitive data in payload. Even if we have to, even if there is a necessity of doing this, always the payload information should be encrypted. The sensitive information should be encrypted. So the best practices are using HTTPS instead of HTTP, as it is more secure, and implementing proper token revocation strategies, which is already mentioned, where we have to always keep the expiration time short, and in case not being used, it should always be revocated. Also, another way of revocating the token is by blacklisting it. In case it's not going to be used and there's still time for the expiration time to come, there's a possibility of keeping the tokens in the blacklist so that it won't be possible to use this token anymore. And of course, all the incoming tokens should be validated accordingly. Moving on, this is the way of implementing secure applications with Spring OAuth 2 and JWT. So Spring security configuration lays in the baseline of our Spring security pyramid. And the next part is going to be the API gateway security, where most or sometimes even all of the security parts are done in the API gateway section. Then role-based access controls, where we can provide roles to the resource owners or to the clients, like admin, user roles, etc. And the last but not least is microservices security, where we'll do the inter-service authentication with JWT. Okay, this is all for the presentation part. Now I can make a little small demonstration of how JWT looks. So here in the screen, you can see a sample of JWT token. This is how basically it looks. This red part, as you can see, this is the header, which I was saying, the algorithm and the type. The second part is going to be the payload, and the last part is going to be the signature. And let's say if I am to change this from John to, let's say, Andrew, it is going to be changed. And if I take this, for example, and say base 64 encoding, and if I try to encode this, oh yeah. Yeah, here. If I am to, for example, decode this, as you can see, it's easily decodable. And the same is with the payload, but not with the signature. And here we have the secret that gets generated, that decodes the secret. So let's say if I am to change the secret 1, 2, 3, for example, it always keeps changing. And only with this secret we're able to encode it correctly. So this signature part is, like I said, is used to verify the payload and the header. And okay, this is all for JWT part. And here I can demonstrate a small Spring Security OAuth 2 application. Sorry, not this. Okay, here it is. Here we have first the security part, security configuration. Here we're mentioning the links for roles, for example, for admin, let's say, all the links that starts with admin should be under admin role. and all the links that starts with user should be under user role, and this should be permitted by all, as well as OAuth2 login should be permitted by all. This part is so this part actually adds custom claims, which are roles into the JWT tokens. For example, here we're setting the authority prefix to role, and we're setting the role here. And here we're creating two objects, admin and user, in memory. So this part is going to be the configuration class for authorization server. And as you can see, we're giving the authorization grant type to have a refresh token, the one that I mentioned, which the token which gets refreshed after some time. And also we're saying that this is an authorization code flow. This is the grant type that I have been talking about. Okay. Moving on. Okay, this is the controller class where we can see that this is publicly accessible. This is not publicly accessible, and this admin dashboard is accessible only for admins, and this user profile is accessible for users only. Okay, first let's run the application. Okay, as I said, this is publicly accessible. And now let's say I'm trying to go to this user profile link. And it asks me, it redirects me to the login. First, let's say if I try to log in with the wrong credentials, it gives me a wrong password. And let's say if I'm to go to this, now I got redirected to the user profile, which I was talking about. And this is basically all for Spring Security. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I'm ready to listen.
I have a question. It's okay. Question about configuring the security in microservices. What is your choice? Will you do the configuration in the API gateway layer or in the every microservices? Which one is more preferable?
Okay, this is a good question. Well, both ways are widely used. I personally, for example, I preferred of using all the services, including API gateway as a resource server. Well, in the application that I used, it was something like that. So the client was a front-end application. The authentication server was the Keycloak, and the resource servers were API gateway and all other services. In this case, what I found it useful to be is that every resource server is responsible for verifying the token. In this way, we have way better security, more security, and so in this case, we should send the tokens through filters. Let's say we have an API gateway as a resource server, which is going to send the token to, which first verifies it, of course, and then if everything is verified, if everything is fine, it sends the request to the next service, let's say microservice A, and that microservice A is going to also verify that token with authorization server. And we have this approach, and I personally found it to be more secure using this way, so that there won't be any kind of, like, it's guaranteed that there won't be any kind of hacker attacks in the middle of the process.
Thank you. I have another question about JWT tokens. Let's say your service will generate a JWT token with expiration for an hour. Let's say a JW token has been generated at 10 o'clock and it will expire at 11 o'clock, but admin of the resource or services have changed the privileges of the user at 10:30, let's say, but JWT token is not expired yet. Should we what will you do in this scenario?
Well, tokens should, like I said, like I mentioned, tokens should be blacklisted in this type of cases where the token is not trusted anymore. So in any kind of situation, in the situations like you mentioned, for example, or in the situations where we are just assuming that we may have a hacker attack, or we may have a gap in our security system somewhere, in these cases, the tokens should be blacklisted.
Uh, 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 how can you check if it's blacklisted or not? Tokens, do you
Well,
store anywhere else, like Redis or something?
yeah, it gets stored in its own. It's in its own system. It's in its own database. Well, I don't have the ready demonstration right now for blacklisted, but you can check that on internet, or you already know my name. You can message me. I can show you anytime.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Earlier you said that the tokens get refreshed automatically, right? The
Yeah,
JWT
yeah.
tokens. Do we not have to implement something to do it, like refresh tokens?
We
or
have the
does it happen
default.
automatically?
We have the default of 1 hour, but you can implement as well. You can implement to have a different time.
I mean, the refresh token, does it create refresh token?
Yeah,
as well?
it creates no, refresh token is not something separate. It is something that is already included in the token itself, and so basically the token already knows when it should get refreshed. Okay, I got confused. It's not, refresh is, I think default was 3 hours, and you can change that.
If it is a problem with security, maybe the token is known by someone else. What happens then?
Yeah,
Would
like I
it not be a
mentioned,
problem?
we should blacklist that. Any other questions? Okay, thank you for your attention. This is all from my side.
Okay, thank you everyone. We're gonna take a short break from now on, and after the break, we'll get right back into it, where we'll have a couple of success stories, and we can have our quiz too with prizes. So, thank you everyone.
А в трансляции что делать?
So this is our quiz, but before the quiz, we want to appreciate our graduates here, Bahouddin and Asliddin. Please come out here. They're both currently middle software Java engineers in EPAM systems, and they had an experience studying MJC school. So we can start with Asliddin.
Thank you. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, where should we stand? Here? Can I start?
Yeah, you can start.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm Asliddin. Some of you may know me. Well, I started learning Java at MJC school. So then, like, I've gone through these stages, and when I was in the fourth stage, which starts from 0, and I got internship offer from EPAM, and then continued this career journey through these paths, and currently working as a software engineer at EPAM Systems. And yeah, the most thing that I like about this program is, there is a very good balance between theory and practice. Like, you cannot find this kind of, materials from others. Definitely you can find, but you should pay for it. But here we are providing it for free, and it provides you, a very good experience of learning and going through these challenges. And yeah, as I mentioned, you will study something and you will apply it in real experience, like in real projects. Like you will build simple applications, and later it will be complex as you go. And yeah, and as Elorake mentioned, like we have AutoCode, which automatically checks your codes and gives suggestions. And it was really good like tool that I saw when I was introduced in MJC, and later when I completed. So at my university, I decided to build my own AutoCode, and like it's not fully functional as MJC provides, but there are like quite a lot of functionalities where students will register through GitHub, and they will get like auto-generated repository where there will be tasks and descriptions, and when they, for example, complete, they can submit it, and I will get the source code and build it through GitHub actions. And it was the choice because like there are other choices, for example, with Jenkins, but I decided to use GitHub actions for this, for building and parsing the results back to the, like showing the results back to the user. And yeah, if any questions, I will be glad to answer. Yeah. So that's a very good question, but it's only in my, not deployed in the web, but I'm planning to make it as a small startup. In university, as I mentioned, we had a subject, and in that subject, we needed to develop something. So develop some project, and the first thing that immediately come to my mind was AutoCode. I didn't know about how it worked under the hood, but when I started like learning about it, it was really challenging, and yeah, and I'm glad to say that I built it. Like, how long you have studied how long have you been working? Well, I started this MJC program about 2022 in November, I believe. And then I got offer like for internship in 2024 October. And there is a more than. After the internship, you get employed? Yes, I was promoted to junior software engineer. It was in 2024, 2023, I completed this MJC and got internship offer. And 2024, like in October, I got this promotion for the junior role. How much? It was 1 year. Yes, it started from 2023 October till 2024, like October, where I got this promotion. But in the middle, we had 2-3 months of like a not studying period, where we had like experience with other team members. Like we joined it together and we built something with real experienced guy. What is the stack like you are referring to this? Already you are enrolled?
No, I'm not enrolled, but the internship opportunity is writing you, for example, 3 months. At least 20 hours you have to pay your time.
Dispatch. Okay, I do not have a lot of context regarding this, but I know some of students who are currently doing this internship at EPAM. Like I know at least 2 of them, like with who are like in Java stack. And when I ask them like about their program, they are really similar to us. Like they are going through the steps that we have gone through. So it was like, it will start from Spring, so it will go up to all the Spring Boot security things, and it will go to containerization and AWS things, and yeah.
So I can answer on this too. In EPAM, we have RD Lab, and for example, if you get to an internship, you're gonna pass a course too, so that you can get your junior job, just like Aslitin here is telling. The difference between MJC and RD Lab is that some people get accepted to RD Lab and some people just don't because there was not enough space. The runs, they also start at a specific time in a year, for example. Maybe the course is going to start next month and then it's going to be 3-4 months, and that happens like twice a year. But the difference with MJC is that it's completely self-paced, so you can start at any moment. And RD Lab, again, is for Uzbekistan. MJC is for everyone at any time online you can pass it. As Aslidin here also said, this is also right, they pass kind of the same things. They also kind of pass the same things. So at the start, for example, even in RD, you learn the build tools, you learn web, Spring, AWS. Again, there is a small difference. MJC starts from scratch. If you completely are new to Java, you're not going to be accepted to an RD Lab because RD Lab is a higher level, it's already an internship. So if you want, you can study MJC school at your own pace if you don't know anything about Java. If you already know Java, you can study latter courses, for example, stage 2, stage 3, right? And this knowledge is going to help you a lot in RD Lab because RD Lab is time fixed. You get 2 weeks to learn that topic and then pass the, for example, questionnaire or something. And the knowledge that you gained in MJC, just like Aslidin here, he gained a lot of theoretical knowledge, and RD Lab for him was just a breeze where he's improving his knowledge even deeper. Any other questions? Okay.
Sure. You said that you created the application and you have studied MJC school and finished it. The knowledge you got from MJC school, what percentage it was enough to do your project? And the things you had to learn to do the project?
Well, when you start writing your projects, so the problem starts to come, you know. And when I started to build this AutoCode thing, like it's quite challenging. And for you're asking for percentage. Well, it's quite complex because I need to think. Like for building that application, I used Spring Boot, security, and single sign-on with GitHub, and also, yeah, basically these components. And we had also servlet. Not servlet, but Thymeleaf as a front end for this. In MJC, where I got knowledge about core Java, Spring, like how they work under the hood and why we need them and how to develop with them like scratch applications, like simple, not complex applications in the beginning part. For percentage, should I answer it? I don't know, because you know, like every time you face a problem, so what do? You think about it and try to learn from others, like how they solve this problem. And even when I started to build this after code, I asked it from coordinators. Like we had a chat, Discord, and before it was different chat. I cannot remember. Slack, it was Slack. And I wrote to them, like even two senior software engineer who worked at EPAM, I think currently works. I wrote them, how you build this kind of application? And for some reason, they didn't told about whole the application, but they showed me the path, how I can think about this process, like what should I focus on, how I will develop this step by step. But for percentage, I don't know. Because, yeah. But mostly, I was a new learner where I didn't have any experience, and MJC helped a lot to cover those gaps in my knowledge. And in every interview I go, for example, I will have questions about, you know, core Java, Spring, and other things as well. Like, and at that moment, like, you know, this knowledge really helps to pass. Okay, currently we have a team and we have team lead. For example, we will be given some tasks, and of course we should like try to do it independently. And yes, for some reason we might don't know like some of the steps to solve that problem, and at that moment we can ask help from team leads. Yes, yes, they're
learning and the working is a total difference. Learning you can learn, but the real project is you have to have like a total different, like you have that person different. Therefore,
sure, I would say working is also one type of learning, and you cannot know everything, you know. And as you go through these tasks, you will discover new things. And yeah, yeah. Basically, we have mentor, like team lead act as a mentor, and we have also the second graduate, and maybe he can share his own experience as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, hello everyone. My name is Bahauddin. Okay. Good. Hello everyone. My name is Bahauddin, and I'm currently software engineer at EPAM. It's been 2 years since I joined EPAM, and so I would like to share my experience. So I can start with the path that it took me to join the EPAM. So it was back in 2022. There was a program called EPAM Training Center. And so that program is now called EPAM Campus, if I'm not mistaken, right? EPAM Campus. So it was called before EPAM Training Center. So I was complete beginner, so I didn't know Java. So I joined that program. And so what you do is you just take an English test and you just register, and there are available courses. So I enrolled in Java. There was a new course was about to start. And so that course lasted about 6 months, and it was every month we learned one module. So it totally had 6 modules. And so basically at the end of each month, we had tests to submit in that platform. And so well, when it was close to finish, I think it was 5th month, we had a project. We need to do some project and then present to the mentors. So we did the project, and then using serverless and GSP, and it was the last month. So it's in 6 months we had technical interview and project interview, and then I passed to the next level. So it was RD lab, as Elar mentioned. So whoever is a successful graduate of the EPAM training center, we used to pass to the next level, which is the EPAM RD lab. And EPAM RD lab, what I did. So I was introduced MJC school materials. So I was advised by my resource manager to basically go through all the stages to revise what I learned and to strengthen the knowledge. And it was a really great experience because first I learned from beginner to advanced, and then it was a chance for me to just revise everything and then do the tasks. Well, yeah. So, and then EPAM RD lab, I think it was it lasts about 3 months. We had project specific trainings as well, and on top of that, it was, since it's self-paced, I was told to go through all those stages and then complete. So yeah, and then I also did that, and after 3 months of learning, and I joined EPAM as a junior software engineer. And so what I can say, in my experience, 2 programs helped me a lot from someone who doesn't know Java at all. So it was EPAM Training Center, the first one, and then the next one is MJC School, which I learned in EPAM RD Lab. So then, yeah, that's my experience. I think if you have any questions.
I have one.
Sure.
What was the challenging tasks you had during this MGC course, let's say? Because I had quite of many, and I want to hear yours, if any.
So when it comes to topics, so the hardest one, I would say, the multi-threading. So those tasks related to multi-threading, and those, what initially you learn the basics, right? So what is thread? How can we create those? And and then there are some advanced topics in multi-threading. So yeah, I would say those tasks was a bit complicated. Yeah. And yeah, I would highly encourage anyone, as it's been mentioned, it's a course from like 0 to 0. So you don't need to know anything. So you don't need to know, you don't need to have a background experience. You just start from 0, and then, of course, with patience and hard work, it will be great. Yeah.
So the last thing before we start the quiz, if anybody has any additional questions, if somebody missed questions to our experts, any questions about EPAM, or like you asked, for example, a question if middles or seniors receive support, feel free to ask them now. We will answer all of them regardless of the topic. Okay, then I will answer the question of yours a little bit differently. So yes, as any level, EPAM is a big organization. So no matter what level you are, there will be people more experienced than you. And that's a very good thing because we're all very open and friendly. So you will always find people that will help you. And of course, the project side is different. You will have your team lead who will help you. But on the other hand, you have just EPAM side, and your manager will always help you out, propose you to some courses, just help you mentor, and that's it. There are infinite opportunities for growth in EPAM for any level. Okay, so it seems like we're done for everything before the quiz. So everybody please join who wanted to play. EPAM engineers can also join, but we're not gonna count them at the end, but we'll see. You will have a great competition for you guys. Anybody can join. Okay, well, I guess that's it. We can start. Anybody has any objections? Okay, waiting. Good to go? Okay, let's start. Okay, that's something. The main communication channel is Discord, and mainly all of the communication in stages with mentors between peers happens in a Discord channel. Let's go to the next question before let's take a look at our board. Okay. What is the main topic of stage 2? Okay. Well, that sounds like a miss. Okay, let's go to the next question. Which one of those is not an attribute of MJC school? Okay. Somebody didn't answer? Okay. Let's continue to the next question. Questions for microservices now. Let's start. What is a key characteristic of a microservice architecture? Okay. Somebody listened very well for the presentation. Okay. Which of the following is commonly used for communication between microservices? Okay. Mirjakhon, good presentation. By the way, Merch is Mirjakhon, and he's answering his own questions the fastest. Okay. What is the service discovery tool? Okay. let's continue. Who's our 11th player? Okay. How to prevent token leakage in single-page applications or mobile apps? Okay. I think with how hard this question is, that's a good enough response. Okay. What flow is now discouraged due to token exposure risks? Okay. Okay, our last question for the quiz. How is JWT security ensured despite decodable payload? Okay. Well, Golibjon, a very good presentation, but even better answer questions. So that's good. Okay, that's our leaderboard. And the first places who are not EPAM engineers. Okay, who is Akmal? Okay. Hey, should you? Oh, thank you. Who is John? Oh, Avaskhon is second, right? Okay, let me open it properly. Yes, Avaskhon is the second. Please come out. Congratulations. And who is John? Okay, John skipping. What's Kirbek? Congratulations. Okay, so for a little bit more of our appreciation, я же могу ему за вопросы еще один отдать. For people who made the most contribution by asking on current presentation, here you go, the second one. And here you go. Okay, to our experts, Mirjakhon and Golibjon. And to our very cool graduates. Here you go, Aslidin. Here you go, Bahavuddin. Congratulations. Okay, everybody please